This episode of Shootin The Shiznit is brought to you by WeHaveMerch.com. WeHaveMerch.com. Standard size shirts at only $12.99. Shirts include I'm a Shiznitter, my old buddy, Cool Kids Countdown logo, Shootin The Shiznit logo, Happy Shiznit Day, and many more. Order your shirt today at WeHaveMerch.com.
Glowing Hearts knows that you have a right to choose any in-home provider you wish. At Glowing Hearts, committed to caring isn't just a tagline, it's a promise to their clients, employees, and communities that they have the honor to service in Pemmican, Dunklin, New Madrid, Butler, Scott, Mississippi, Stoddard, Wayne, Bollinger, and Cape counties. For more information, contact Glowing Hearts at 844-390-3735 in Marston or 573-803-2716 in Cape Girardeau. Glowing Hearts, committed to caring.
Have you listened to episode 36, Cool Kids Countdown, Top 10 Promotions of 2017. Here's a clip, listen, and download or listen to all the episodes at stspod.club.
Give them to me, Lance.
All right, at number 5 is probably a shocker that you've already ruined for us, but it's WWE at number 5.
Sorry about that, spoiler. I'm the one that's the worst when it comes to hate spoilers. But let me tell you, I wrote something and it was part of what Tom Reese said. Go to Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA group on Facebook. You guys can ask to come in, and we'll let you in. If you're an asshole, we'll kick you out. But that's the way Tom was talking about WWE, and that's the reason why I still watch it and still keep up with it, but not what I did maybe, even 2 months ago. And I think it's the reason I like all this other wrestling better, or that I watch all this other stuff also, is because of WWE, the style. There's a WWE style. It's almost like basic psychology, and me and Chase Owens talked about this on Shootin The Shiznit, and which all you do is, the babyface gets a shine, the heel takes over, takes on, does heat, you get comebacks, babyface, if it's a tag team match, hot tag, cut them off, another hot tag, you do double heat. It's just same format, and that's what's really tired me of the WWE. But if you're going to be a wrestling fan and want to know what's going on everywhere, they got to at least be in your top 5, and they are the number 1 company in the world.
So this is the one that we... 5,
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's start the party.
Ladies and gentlemen.
In May of 2006, I started a website, WrestlingRiotOnline.com, where I covered the Memphis area wrestling scene. I decided to become the Dave Meltzer of the area and kayfabe nothing. I gave stars to matches, talked psychology, and gave gates of the shows. This had never been done, and it was a favorite side of many people, and some people just hated me. In May of 2011, after 5 years of posting, I shut the site down. I opened it again when we started the podcast back up and renamed it. But all the old information, guys, is still there. This month, to celebrate the site, we will be posting the Memphis in May series, with guests being some of the wrestlers of the Memphis series. Guys that were popular during the Wrestling Riot years. Sit back and relax and listen to our guests and enjoy Memphis in May. I'm going to welcome I don't only have one guest, but I have two guests today. I want to welcome my friends, Picture Perfect. Come on, guys. Come on from the green room. I've had milk and cookies over there for them.
What's up, BT?
How's it going?
All right. So I have Chris O'Neill and Christy Jacobs, 2/3 of Picture Perfect, and we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. But I just want to tell everybody, these two guys, we've been friends, both of them, for years. They actually were in my the only wedding that counts. They were both in that wedding. So this is what I want Shootin' the Shiznit to be. Like I've always said, you either sit down and talk with someone you don't know to shoot the shit with, or, man, sit down and talk with guys you've known forever. And these two guys, I had to grab them because they was a big part of the Memphis wrestling scene during the time I was doing Wrestling Right. And but let's get started first. Chris, I want to ask first, we'll start when you were a fan before you actually become training and become a wrestler. So how did you become a fan?
I was real good friends with Simon Reed from the Posse, and most people know, all through high school, and that's all he ever wanted to do was be a professional wrestler. And, I never watched it growing up as a kid, but later when I met him, he got me into watching the Monday Night Wars between WCW and WWE. And then him and a friend of mine, Harrison, and another guy, Killa, we used to go to DCW and see Naughty by Nature and Motley Crue and those guys, Big Daddy Enforcer. We went to school with him, so we'd go up there and watch it, and it just grew from there.
And those shows were, and we didn't really know about them until we actually come involved in them. It's really totally outlaw shows, and I did a bunch of outlaw shows. Didn't work any stuff with quote unquote stars until later. So CJ, tell us how you become a fan, or when you were a fan, and then we'll start out when you started training and everything.
Okay. Most of the guys you've had on here, they talk about how they grew up in watching Memphis Wrestling and Lawler and Dundee and all them. I wasn't really into that as much. I was more WWE, WWF thing going on. Shawn Michaels, Mr. Perfect, Ultimate Warrior, those guys. So, I didn't really watch Memphis until Power Pro came along. So, as far as when I started, I'd worked at the factory with you, and there was a guy named Jackie Hicks that he used to go by Jack Diamond, and he was kind of in it, I guess, but we started talking, and there were some guys training in Blytheville, and we had a building up there. He started out training us, and then he kind of like left us on our own, and we just kept at it, basically trained each other, I guess, and we just went from there and just started working shows, and you got us booked on some things, and just kind of went with the flow, basically, just whatever shows came up, and then we just went from there, man.
Right. And I always talk about two tag teams. CJ was part of one of those tag teams. That was him and a guy by the name of Cade. They were total chaos. I would either manage them or another team called the Riot Squad. And we pretty much hit the road and wrestled each other. They wrestled each other every night and didn't want to work anyone else. It was
Rock and Roll Express and Midnight, that's what we were then, as far as knowing each other,
Right. And that's right. And the thing about it is, it was just sitting and learning psychology and how to do the start of a match or the end of a match. That was the fun stuff. And me and CJ actually did, we figured it up one time. In a 9-month period, we had done like 103 dates. So we were busy.
Which was crazy for our level. That was crazy for our level,
Right.
Just getting started.
Yeah, we was working, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and sometimes on Thursday. So, but that gave y'all guys the experience you needed. Chris, you started out. I love this story, but you was Chris Fury, and it was pretty much you were a backyard wrestler, right?
Yeah, that's basically exactly it. Like I said, my buddy Simon always wanted to be a wrestler, and he eventually went and started training with Don Bass, but He was the Punisher, Simon Reed, at the time. And that's, Nick Fury from the comic books is where I got the Chris Fury, because everybody already knew my first name. So, yeah, a lot of the guys here actually started the backyard with us. And, we went to local shows and was trying to get trained. And, we were 16, 17 years old, and they were blowing us off like, these kids, they're just fans, nothing else. So I actually went and built my own ring, and we started doing shows, and we actually started drawing more than any of the local shows. So then that's when they decided, we want to get these guys over here because they're drawing. So they used our name to get local people to come.
Yeah, something you just glossed over there real quick. You said you built your own ring. That's one of the craziest things but you did. Was it you and your dad that actually built the ring?
It was actually me and Simon mainly.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, my dad did help with some, but yeah, me and Simon did it. My dad had done some of the welding and stuff for us, and then a guy that lived next door to Simon was a welder, and he did, the rest of it. But yes, I mean, we had a really good professional ring. We researched it, got plans, and then went out and bought all the materials and built our own wrestling ring.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I worked this show or you guys, I got a videotape from one of you guys. You were doing, I really want to think it was a ladder match, one of the first matches I ever saw you in. And I got you, Golden Boy, a guy that we won't talk about, another guy, and I don't know. I think I grabbed three of you guys from there, and then that y'all kind of become part of CCW at the time.
Yes, you got us, and we met you in a show in Dyersburg, and we started coming doing shows with you.
Right, right.
So,
all right, David. David, you went from Total Chaos, and then you had another team. We had a couple members from each team quit or decide they didn't want to wrestle, and we put you and a guy by the name of Precious Paul together, Precious Paul Justice, and you guys were Sex and Candy.
Yeah, we did that at Dyersburg. We had the feud with Naughty by Nature. I heard you talking about that too in the podcast. But that was honestly, that was some of the greatest things that we ever did. As far as I can't tell you how much I learned from Rude and from Poker Face and from I guess it was Rude and Telly mostly then because we were Dude and Sully.
Right.
So, but I mean, I think as far as tag team wrestling, they were it at the time, and they were what we wanted to be. And I just can't talk enough about how much I learned from them. Those guys taught so much as far as psychology, coming in and out of heat. It was awesome, man. I loved every minute of it. They were stiff as hell when they come back from Chicago, but it was worth it, man. I think it's where I picked up a lot of my stuff. You know, I like to work tight, and I think that's probably where it started.
Yeah, I mean, that's it helped you guys because y'all being a tag team, actually learning, you knew if I said, let's go home or something like that, but the coming in and out of heat and how to do that as a heel, they really helped you guys a lot. And that was one, we told that story. I don't think I've told the story how Sex and Candy ended at Dyersburg. So we're standing in the back. We're standing in the back, and they said, hey, next week what we want you to do, BT, is we want you to grab Spot Moondog, son out of the crowd, and now his son was what, 15 or 16 years old?
Young. It wasn't Chris. It was the young one, whatever his name was. He was young.
And he wanted me to pull his son out of the crowd and whip him with a belt. And so in the next week, we were going to have a leather strap match with the Moondogs. And CJ and Paul looked at me and said, "Hey, we got real jobs. We don't do strap matches." So I actually told Spot, I said, I actually called him Larry because I want him to know there was no disrespect. I said, "Larry, there's no disrespect here, But my boys and me, we're not going to do any leather strap matches. And the next week, we looked on the internet and we had a loser leave town against Naughty by Nature. So we
dropped the belts. We had the belts. We
did.
At the time.
We did.
So we had to drop the belts and leave town. And the funny thing is, we became pretty good friends with Larry after that. And I talked to him, and he said, "You know what, boys? You did the right thing." He said, "Number one, he's too young to be doing that. Number two, it didn't make sense. Why would you just grab somebody and do that? Just to start a feud, it made no sense." And that was one of the things we kind of had to stand up for ourselves and say, this is stupid. We're not doing that. And from that point on, man, when me and John Michael started tagging, he made a point to watch all our matches. He would come in, they'd be out back, he would come in to watch our match. He'd say, "Let me know, boys, when y'all are on." And he'd come in and watch every one of our matches. And he was just an awesome dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was really friendly with me after that, too. I mean, there was no animosity whatsoever. Chris, now, before all this was going on, as I was doing that, were you working Dyersburg at the same time we were? Because my memory's just really, and I might have.
Yeah, I was there. It was, I was actually with John Michael and Stan at the time. Me and Stan were in a tag team called America's Most Wanted before, it was done by James Storm.
Yeah.
And then they started doing it on TNA, so we had to drop the America's Most Wanted. And then me, Stan, and John Michael, before John Michael and CJ started tagging, were the Primetime Players. So we kind of did a Freebirds thing there, and, it was me and Stan tagging most of the time, and then John Michael would be thrown in there with us if we ever did a three-man thing.
Right. We're going to mention John Michael a lot, but he's a big part of Picture Perfect, and I reached out to him a couple of times, and the motherfucker wouldn't answer me back. Did I say that out loud?
He
is kayfabing me, is what he was. So here we go. So, David, you and John Michael, I'm sorry. God dang. CJ,
you call me David because dude, you're talking about knowing somebody for a long time. You were one of my substitute teachers in high school. That's when I met you. That's how far back we go.
It is true. It's true. Just crazy. Me and you. It's funny because me and CJ were substitute teacher. Like I said, we worked at a factory forever. We worked in pizza together first, and then went from there to a factory. And thank God we left that factory. But yeah, friends forever. We're like brothers. I mean, he's always like my little brother, and he was always bigger than me. But how did you and John Michael end up together? I mean, starting with Picture Perfect, and how'd you get? What made y'all decide on the Picture Perfect name?
Well, when we were working Dyersburg, me and John Michael, it didn't even have anything to do with wrestling, I guess. Me and him just clicked. We were like the same person almost. If you've been around us, both of y'all been around us, you know how we are. It's just, we're like, just brothers for real. And we've always been that way. I don't know what it was. We clicked right from the start. So naturally, it just kind of fed into the wrestling thing. We're like, we're going to hang out together and do stuff. And that's kind of what we had a lot of the same style as far as in-ring work. We looked a lot alike. It just kind of naturally blended into, we wanted to do stuff together. And I think it was Mo. I think Mo was booking when he put us together. And, we spent time for a while trying to come up with a name, and we'd set it on Picture Perfect, and we said we wanted to do the model gimmick, have the runway and all that stuff. And Ken Wayne's like, "Well, why can't y'all just be wrestlers?" And we're like, and then I swear, just 2 or 3 weeks later, we turn on SmackDown and they have Eminem on there doing that gimmick. And I'm like, Jesus, dude. But yeah, we just clicked, man. It was just awesome right from the start. And, we did big things with it. I think all three of us did big things with it.
Oh, I do too. Now, Chris, you hold on just a minute, guys. We're going to take our quick commercial break. We'll be back, and I want to talk about how Chris become part of Picture Perfect, and then you guys like intertwined. You had you and one time John Michael and Chris, and then Chris, and it was just crazy all over the place. So we'll get a commercial break, and we'll be right back, guys.
Glowing Hearts knows that you have a right to choose any in-home provider you wish. At Glowing Hearts, committed to caring isn't just a tagline, it's a promise to their clients, employees, and communities that they have the honor to service in Pemmican, Dunklin, New Madrid, Butler, Scott, Mississippi, Stoddard, Wayne, Bollinger, and Cape counties. For more information, contact Glowing Hearts at 844-390-3735 in Marston or 573-803-2716 in Cape Girardeau. Glowing Hearts, committed to caring.
80s Tees is the leading online retailer of officially licensed t-shirts, specializing in retro movie, music, TV show, video games, comic book, and cartoon t-shirts. 80s Tees has you covered. They have everything from G.I. Joe, Seinfeld, and Back to the Future, as well as 152 different classic wrestling shirts. Plus, free shipping on all orders over $50. Visit them now at our link, tinyurl.com/STS80stees. That's tinyurl.com/STS80STEES. Visiting them at our link will cost you nothing extra, but it will help support this podcast. Now, back to the show.
All right, we're back with the show, and like I said, I'm bringing guys on that were really popular during the time I was doing the website for 5 years. Just real quick with you guys, y'all, the nominations that y'all had for awards was Tag Team of the Year in 2006, Horizon Award for Christian Jacobs in 2009, MVP Tag Team 2009, Tag Team 2009, Booker 2010, and EWE when John Michael was helping out. Everybody was helping out, I think. Most Valuable Tag Team again in 2010, Tag Team 2010, TV Match in 2010. And then the winner, y'all won Tag Team of the Year in 2006, TV Match in 2010, and Booker, he won part of the booking committee there in 2010, John Michael did. And I actually wrote this. I said, this is the team that could have made tons of money during the territory days. They are also a team that makes me wonder why, because they are not working for the WWE. If I booked a show in this area, they would be my top babyface team, and you guys were any combination of you guys, y'all were my fabs. That's how I would have booked you guys as top babyface team.
Hey, let me tell you something about that as far as the territory thing. Bobby Eaton, it's funny because Bobby Eaton told me and John Michael one night, he said, boys, y'all were just born too late. He said, y'all would have made $1 million back in the day.
That's true. I mean, it was that way. That's the way I always felt, and I felt like, y'all were held down when y'all went down to Memphis to do TV tapings, and no one they weren't pushing y'all to the moon like they should have. Chris, how did you become part of the Picture Perfect team? What were you doing right before all this happened where you jumped in to be part of the team?
Well, like I said, I was tagging with Stan before this, and they started using America's Most Wanted on TV, so we knew we had to drop it. And we kind of both did separate things and both went on to do singles wrestlers at the time. And, I was just with John Michael and CJ all the time. And I believe it was John Michael actually got hurt and was going to be out for a little bit for his knee. And they put Rocker in there for like 1 week, Chris Rocker, and it just wasn't a fit. And I don't know. I don't know if it was Derek King or Mo or somebody just said, all right, well, this is the best replacement for John Michael, and they put me in it. So I was always traveling with these guys and hanging out with them anyhow. So if they were there, I was going to be there too,
Right.
I think Naughty by Nature had a lot to do with that. As CJ talked, those guys were big influences on us. Rude actually was the guy that stepped up and trained me, and took credit for training me and taught me what I knew. I had lots of guys that help out after that, but, Rude was the main one at the beginning and did lots of shows with those guys, and we were going to work lots of programs with them, so I think it was part of them too, wanting me to be in that tag team.
Okay, so you and CJ, you two were together, and was this the team that went? Did you two go to Memphis, or was that John Michael and Chris that went to Power Pro? It wasn't Power Pro; it was Memphis Championship Wrestling or something like that.
It was me and Chris because we were working Columbus, Mississippi at the time, and I think it was Bill Dundee. Was that right, Chris? Bill Dundee that asked us to come to Memphis.
Right, yeah. Dundee, we were doing some Memphis tapes, and Dyers worked there for a little while, and then they went back to the studio there in Memphis. And during that whole time, it was, at the beginning, it was me and you for, and then it seemed like 2 years. Like every Saturday we were there.
Yeah, we were babyface one week and heels the next. That's how they used us. Had no clue.
Had no idea.
Well, everybody requested to work us. I mean, so first off, they knew they were going to go over if they were working us, but they knew they were going to have a good match. So, yeah, we got requested to work. I think we worked Too Cool 2 for every other week forever.
Now,
and we got to have a 6-minute tag with Chris and Waller against Dundee, the hillbilly Scott, which, I mean, it's pretty awesome to be in a tag team like that. You know, that's pretty big tag match there.
Yeah, and I remember something, and this was with you and John Michael, and you guys went down to WWE and did WWE Heat, which I guess they just put a bunch of heat on the network. This match may be available on the network. I don't know yet. So I wasn't even thinking about that till just then. But you guys did a Heat match. Now, what was the tag team that y'all did?
Oh, it was me and John Michael against the Highlanders in Nashville. We worked Nashville for that.
That was the Highlanders. I couldn't remember what the actual team was. And here was something funny. I actually wrote about this on the site. It's when y'all got back, it was like y'all had heat because y'all worked WWE. It was so funny. It was like people were so jealous that y'all were actually on TV. And you have just like it was a nerve-wracking thing that happened during the match. I know it was, but it was, in hindsight, it was funny to you because we always talked about it. But you had something where you missed a clothesline or something, and you just went and did it again, and they cut it out, didn't they?
No, it was a spot. It was a duck clothesline, and he was going to hit me with a reverse DDT or something. And I'd asked him before we went out, like, are we going straight down, or are you going to pause, or what? And whatever happened, he told me opposite. So that's what I went into. So I think he said go straight down, so I went straight down, and he was going to pause. So it was like I slipped.
Right.
So, yeah, it sucked. It pissed me off because everything else was great. And, yeah, I mean, for TV it was cut out, but it bothered me. But, I mean, the match was good. And the crazy thing about it is, you know, that was our first time working with him. And going down that ramp in front of, I don't know however many people there for Raw, but, you know, you'd think you'd be nervous or whatever. Dude, I swear to God, it felt like we do that every week. I mean, it felt natural, like we're supposed to be here. And I mean, I guess that helped a lot during the match.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I'm going to have to go on the network now and look for that. Chris, I wanted to talk to you about this because you did this a lot more than CJ did, but you worked a lot of, like, Monday Night Raw as extras and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I got to do it a few times with a lot of the local guys from Memphis Wrestling. You know, anytime they were in Memphis or Nashville, and, you know, like he was talking about doing the one in Nashville. While we were doing Memphis, it's funny because I was doing Saturday morning Memphis TV with CJ, and then Saturday night Nashville TV with John Michael. That's picture perfect both times.
That
was in the singles thing in Dyersburg.
Yeah, I could see CJ didn't want to go back travel to Nashville. He's been known not to want to travel. So I want to give
he would get burned out.
I want to give CJ an award because, you know, he actually was in the car with me and my first wife many, many times. And you needed a medal for that, man. You really do.
Yeah, I'll take a check, you know.
So you guys are. Go ahead.
What? Yeah, but your wife, but there was a night where you actually were going to get me to fight some guy at a gas station. You remember that?
Okay, so
you got into it with him, and
I don't fight, guys. So I've got four big guys behind me, and I said, all right, guys, well, y'all go whip their asses. And they were like, what? Why are we whipping these guys' asses? But, yeah, I was known to do things like that. I never liked to I like to stir the shit but never fight. So you guys both have been backstage with the WWE, and y'all got to have some story that you just always think of. I'm smiling, CJ, because I remember when Rude went back there and had met Kurt Hennig, and Kurt Hennig was so much bigger than Rude.
That picture.
Yeah, in this picture. But come on, Chris, I'll let you tell it. Can you think of something backstage that you can remember?
Man, there was plenty of times that, stuff happened, but not stuff that you really talk about. But one of the things that caught me off guard, one of the times I was there was we were down by the ring just going over what was going to happen. We were security that night, and I'm standing there, and it's Ted DiBiase down there, and no, it was Arn Anderson down there, and Ted DiBiase and Shane McMahon, and I think Shawn Michaels is down there at the time. But we're standing around, and Arn says something to Shane, and Shane said, "Don't make me pick up those scissors over there." And it was one of those things where I'm sitting there in between them, and I'm like, do I laugh about this or act like I don't know what's going on? So, and I think that was a reference to the Sid Vicious ordeal.
Very
but
much
I'm
so.
like, do I laugh at this? Or, So that was one of the things that was kind of funny to me. And then at that time, nobody really had long hair, and I was one of the guys that still had long hair. And Shawn Michaels had told me to cut off my hair, that there was no more sexy boys around, but he was the only one. So that, kind of made me laugh that time too. So,
he just
fun.
recently cut his hair. After all these years, he finally cut it. So there you go. So CJ, you got to have at least a good WWE story.
Yeah, I've got a couple of good ones. One of them I'm really hesitant to tell.
Oh, come on. Don't kayfabe us. Don't kayfabe us.
That's how I was.
Because I could severely get my ass beat if he ever came around. Whatever, dude. I'll say. All right. So, this was if this was Raw or SmackDown. I think this was Raw. Yeah, it was, because we had worked the match. We just did the stuff with Kane and Edge at SmackDown in New Orleans. But yeah, Nashville, Raw, we worked the match. We came back, went back in the locker room, went to the locker rooms back there. Me and John Michael took a shower, all right? So, dude, all right, so, you know how guys are, we're not going to get out of the shower to go pee, right? It's a Costanza, Seinfeld kind of thing. So
right.
We pee, all right? We pee. We're in the shower. We pee. We get out, I would say 30 seconds after we get out of the shower, all right? 30 seconds. Here comes Randy Orton and a camera crew. And they had to film something where I don't remember who was doing the gimmick, but they was leaving everybody laying in the back to take them out of some match that was coming up or whatever. So Orton has to film it like he's been laid out in the shower.
Oh my God!
So he has to lay down. He has to lay down in the shower that me and John Michael just peed in, and me and John Michael were sitting here looking at each other, like about to just, catch on fire. That's how we felt. We were like, did we say something? We just, obviously we didn't. We just let it go. So, Randy, if you by chance ever hear this, It was a goof. I'm sorry. But Randy Orton kind of laid in our pee, I guess you'd say.
Oh, good God. I love that.
We didn't mean it, we didn't mean it. It just happened. So, yeah, I was hesitant to tell that because, that's instant heat.
Oh man! So we're almost out of time. I've got to tell two stories on you guys. One about CJ and one about Chris. So I have to do this to everyone that I'm considered friends. So CJ and John Michael are living in Steele, Missouri, where I'm originally from. They're living in an apartment. Total filth. Let me just say that, okay? And if you're not, you may not know what I'm saying, but filth, just horrible. So.
Not us, man.
Oh, no, what was I thinking? I walked through the front door, and I said, I'm looking for CJ. And I said, John Michael, where's CJ at? And he said, he's in the bathroom shaving. And I walk into the bathroom, and CJ is sitting on the edge of the toilet with his ball sack pulled up and shaving his taint. So... And I
told you I was shaving.
And I said, what the fuck? I'm like, what? Come on, John Michael. He said, I said he was shaving. I wasn't lying to you. So, yeah, that's one of my favorite picture-perfect stories. And then, Chris, you actually got a huge rib on me one night. And you could tell the story about that if you want to. Where you guys were, it was even on YouTube what you did to me. Can you remember what you did?
I believe we had you sit down trying to do an interview or something, and I dumped powder or flour all over your head.
Yeah, a whole, 5 pounds of flour went all over my head, all over my suit, the whole 9 yards, and everybody was like, man, he's going to throw a big fit, and I was like, no, hell no. It was fun, and I took it in stride, so, and I've never got
Hey. What?
Everybody was scared
the second part of that rib, though. You know what, Chris? There was a second part to that rib, dude, when he went over and...
I don't really remember.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Alex Crisis, yeah.
Alex Crisis had shaved all of his body hair one night and put it in a bag and brought it to the show. And then, it was summertime. It was hot. So we waited for everybody to pull up, get all greased up and they're sweaty and stuff. Then he turns on the fan and throws all the chest hair, the leg hair, pubes, everything into the fan so it blows all over everyone. So you used that fan to blow that powder off your head.
I know.
It was crazy because they were like, we want to do this to BT, but who will do it? Everybody was worried you would, say something to them about on the site or something,
Right.
It would hurt them. I'm like, I will do it. Me and CJ were trying to come up with better stuff to do. We're like feeding some sugar or something.
Oh, come on. Diabetes, guys, diabetes. It's not a joke anymore. Hey, I want to thank you two guys. I want to thank Chris and CJ for joining. I want all my listeners, thank you guys for joining. I will be here, same bat time, same bat channel, on the best little wrestling podcast in the business. Love my mama and be there. All right, thanks, guys. Hey, thank you for joining us live from SDS Studios in St. Louis, Missouri. And that was another great episode of Shootin The Shiznit. A big thank you to Bob McGee at Pro Wrestlers Between the Sheets, PWBTS.com. Locals to Legends, Gene Jackson at www.localstolegends.com. Sean Garmer over at W2Mnet.com. Guys, we're at Comic Book Mark BT on Twitter, at BT Shootin The Shiznit on Instagram. You can send a PayPal. That's right, a PayPal at Brian_Tramel, Tramel, at yahoo.com. All the archives are on our www.stspod.club page. That's right, Cool Kids Wrestling and MMA Talk Facebook group. You can join that and talk about wrestling. If we don't like you, we'll kick you out. There's also a Shootin The Shiznit Facebook page where we actually post all the new episodes Remember, you can listen to this episode and many more on iTunes, Stitcher, Player FM, Pop Paradise, and Spreaker. And finally, a shout out to our podcast bros: Suplex City Limits, Creative Control, Who's Right Podcast, P3 Radio, and guys, remember, keep it at 100. Patreon site is only $1. Help my buddy JoJo out there. Only $1. Join us next week for another great episode of Shootin' the Shiznit.